Hi, Rob from robandphoto.com, and what I'd like to talk about today is a quick introduction to real basic use of your camera. This is going to just go into real basics just to help you get started if you've bought a new camera and just want a quick few tips on how to start taking pictures. When you get a new camera, the first thing to do is obviously read the manual. Probably most of it is a bit complicated, you won't really take it all in. I know I didn't with my camera. And so the best thing you can do is get out, take some shots, and then you'll get questions in your mind about how you want to achieve certain things. And that's the time to go back and reread sections of the camera, a section of the camera's manual, so that you can get those answers. But if you want a quick start guide, if you like to use the camera, digital camera. Now this is just an old digital point and shoot, but the sort of tips I'm giving are the same for bridge cameras or digital SLRs, to be honest. So obviously you're going to charge up your batteries and put them in, and you're going to get your SD card and pop it in. Now with your SD card, make sure you format it using the format controls in the camera, because then you know it'll be fully compatible. If you format it in your PC using a card reader, it might not work properly, so always format your SD cards or your CF cards in the camera. Now you'll probably have some sort of dial on the camera or a setting, and to start off with, you always want to be in the auto setting. And when you're in auto, the camera will work out everything for you. All you need to do is point the camera at your subject and press the shutter down. It will take the picture. It will sort out the ISO, which is how sensitive the camera is to light. It will sort out the shutter speed, which is how fast the camera lets in light as it opens and closes the shutter. And it will sort out the aperture as well, which is how big the hole is that lets the light in on the camera. Okay, so you'll turn your camera on. I'll probably have to wait a second or two for it to start up, depending on the model. And then we just really need to understand what happens when you're pressing the shutter. So what you do is you'll maybe use your viewfinder or the screen on the back, and you'll compose a shot. And then you're going to press the button halfway down, okay? And the camera will probably make a beep, or what this one does, little LED flashes on the back. And what the camera is telling you then, when you press the shutter halfway down, it's saying that it's locked the focus on the thing that's in the middle of your picture, and it's also locked the exposure. Okay, so the focus is what is going to be in focus. So if I focus on this tripod. So it's in the middle, I focused on that, it's locked the focus on that tripod, and while my finger is halfway down on this button, it isn't going to change the focus. But it also has set the exposure, so how bright or dark the picture is going to be by the scene that I've set. So it's really important that once you press that button halfway down, you don't move your camera off that subject. And then you press the button, the shutter will click, and it will take the picture. The next thing to really realise is the fact that in some cases you might not want the camera to set the exposure from what you're looking at. So what do I mean? Well, let's take for example a landscape shot where maybe there's a field with a tree in the corner and a bright sky. But when we focus on the tree that's in the distance, the camera sets the exposure for the tree, because that's what we've pointed our camera at. So when we take the picture, the tree is going to be nicely exposed, but it could be that the sky is way too bright, it blows out. So in that situation, we can take advantage of the fact that the camera locks the exposure when we press the button. So a bit of imagination here. Imagine this is a tree that's in the distance, this little tripod. But what I want to do is I want to expose for the sky. Okay, so I want the sky to be beautifully exposed, but I'm not really bothered about the tree if it's a little bit too dark. But because this tree is quite far away, it doesn't really matter what I'm focusing on as long as it's in the distance. Because at a certain point, your camera focusing goes what we call hyperfocal, or it starts focusing to infinity. So it doesn't matter as long as it's far enough away. So what I'll do is, this is in the distance and the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the tree, but I'm not going to press the shutter down halfway yet. I'm going to point up at the sky, press the shutter halfway down, recompose on the tree and then take the picture. So in that case, I forced the camera to remember the exposure for the sky, and then I've recomposed to take a picture of the tree. And so the sky is going to be perfectly exposed and the tree is probably going to be a bit dark. So that's how you can take advantage of the fact that of exposure lock and focus lock when you're pressing the button. And that's all you really know to start off with. You need to know where to start off when you're going out with your camera. To start practicing with your composition, your subjects, and how you use the light that's available. Just remember that press the button halfway down on the shutter button, and that locks the focus and locks the exposure. And then press it all the way down, and then it will take the picture. Another thing actually I should mention is the fact that there's normally a delay when you press the button halfway down. Depending on your camera, it might be instantaneous, it might be a delay of about half a second while the camera focuses and sets the exposure. So don't just click and press it all the way down, because you're not giving the camera enough time. It really is, compose, press halfway down, wait, click, and there you go, that's taking the picture. The final thing I'll talk about is really asking you to think about how you're holding the camera as well, because if you're not going to use a tripod, you need to make sure you're really steady. So lots of people you'll see when they're taking pictures, they might use the LCD screen at the back, and you'll see them trying to take a picture like this. But the problem with that is it's going to be blurry because they're moving too much. So it's always a lot better to use the viewfinder if you've got one and hold it up to your eye. But then as well, you'll see people taking pictures like this with their elbows out, which is going to be wobbling around as well. So one of the better ways of doing it is use your other hand almost like a tripod and support it against your body, and just feel how secure that feels. And then you're supporting the camera with this hand, and you're taking the picture with this hand, and it's going to be a lot steadier. You can also, if you want, move that hand underneath like that. So now we've even got a steadier support. And if you want to get really good, what you can do is use the strap that comes with the camera, wrap it around your hand really tight. It's easy if you've got a camera with a long strap, and you're locking the camera onto your hand like that, and that gives you an even steadier shot. The other thing you can do is, as you're taking the shot, take a deep breath in before, and then when you're taking the shot, after you've locked the exposure and the focus, just slowly breathe out, and then take it as you're breathing out, and that will give you a really nice and steady grip to work on, so your pictures are really sharp. But obviously if there's a danger of things wobbling, or you're working in low light, so the camera's going to have to use a long shutter speed, use a tripod. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.